All right, we are live with another episode of the Shuffle Bus. Um, Back here with Game 2 of the AIL Finals. I'm your host, Jesse. With me, as always, is my great co-host, Mr. Neil. Hey,
I
Neil.
am here. Hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited for this, for the actual grand finals.
Right, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
we had to definitely record Game 1 because it was possible that Matt would just close out AIL in Game 1. And
right.
so now we're in game 2. Brian has fought his way through 20 some matches into this game here, fighting his way out of the losers bracket. Hey, Big Fleet, thank you for the sub, man. That is so awesome. I
Yeah,
can't even thank you enough for that, dude.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We do not deserve it.
No, but we appreciate it without a doubt. And so here we are in game 2 of the finals. Looks like Matt has brought a Maeoni deck with five natural dice, 3 divine, and 2 charm. And it looks like we've got a Leo deck over here on the other side with 2 ceremonial, 3 charm, 2 nature, and 3 sympathy. So this is a 4-color Leo deck up against Matt's 3-color 5-2-3 split on Maeoni.
Right. So the Maeoni has to have, you got 9 conjurations, so a snake as 1, 2 Gilders or 3 Gilders. I assume that's what the Gilder is off the...
Yeah, I would definitely assume that you're definitely playing Gilder here. You're probably holding Golden Veils in this deck. Obviously, we don't have the deck list because AIL is a bring a new deck if you wish every week.
Right. I am just guessing, but
we can make some pretty reasonable interpretations from this. I would also suspect that Matt's going to be looking at Meteor with the 3 divine dice. Meteor is really good at clearing a board away and making a snake really big to go lethal. That's something that Brian's going to have to work around. Leo is obviously generally a mill deck. These colors would make me think that that's still probably what we're looking at here, but maybe Brian's got something sneaky up his sleeve. We don't really know for sure yet until we see it play out.
Brian really had Matt's number last week.
He did.
He came ready for Matt specifically, what Matt likes to do, and it was a really interesting game. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on YouTube. So definitely worth a watch.
So hopefully, these 2 decks, I mean, both PBs start with relatively similar health pools. I would say that Glowfinch is a little bit problematic against a board of a bunch of natural pings, but we'll see how that works out. I mean, Glowfinch is obviously got hit with the nerf hammer pretty hard from 1.0 to 1.5.
Oh, yeah.
Anguish is a real card, though, I think, and Leo's loyalty card Anguish could be very, very powerful here. So we'll see how that sort of plays out. I'll be curious to see how the first 5s really line up.
It looks like Matt has chosen to go first.
Yep. So Matt's going to fire us off out of the gate here, and he's going to do some meditating right away. Looks like a root armor goes down. A summon Shining Hydra goes down. Two summon Shining. That might be costly. And a Polarity Mage.
Kind of depends. So this deck looks very similar to a lot of the decks that he plays. Ooh, what is that?
That's a refresh.
Neat.
Yeah, we don't see those very often, folks. That's for sure. And we bring a Gilder down first play of the game. Makes sense. You put out if Leo puts out anything here, it's most likely going to be an owl. It just gives you time to play Gilder right now and not have to worry about summoning Gilder right away. But if your opponent puts something threatening on the board, what do we got here? Memory Theft right out of the gate. All right. So we're definitely on the mill plan here with a Memory Theft down. Yep. There's no doubt about it. This deck is going for a mill victory through fatigue. Not sure how that plays into Maeoni exactly. We'll see. Obviously, Brian's a very talented, but now we got to see the hand. So we've got a Meteor, Ice Trap, and a Frostback Bear in the first 5. Ice Trap is a great tech against Owl, so So Brian probably isn't going to land an owl here this turn, or the Orchid Dove. Either one of them can get Ice Trap, although the Orchid Dove would still trigger, which would be a little more problematic, I guess, or still get its desired effect off. So he's going to force him to discard the Meteor. Obviously, Matt's going to take the damage from the memory drain.
Right, he's going to choose not to discard.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we get the Frostback Bear down, so we're going to go ahead and get a 3-eyed owl. I promised some viewers that are newer to the game that I'd try to hold these up a little longer. Understand this is competitive Ashes. Things are going to move pretty quickly, so I'm not going to be able to linger for a long time on some of these things. But
comes the snake.
Yep. And the snake's a good, like, sort of stally kind of play. You're kind of stalling the game.
He wants the snake down before whatever he ice traps, because it'll get a counter.
Correct. Absolutely.
It was interesting because we looked at his hand. He didn't show any golden veils or rescues to protect it.
That is interesting because I wonder if just knowing that your opponent's on Leo, that you're less likely to play a bunch of removal. So here's the Anguish. Matt's just going to take the Anguish 4 here.
Yep.
Definitely the correct
at this
play.
juncture of the game, that's where you're at.
You just have to know that your life is a resource and that you're okay with things sort of falling off, your life points falling down right now, especially if you can establish a better sort of tempo and permanence in play over your opponent. And the Ice Trap puts Brian in a pretty tricky place overall, with most of what Mill tends to do.
Yeah, if he ice traps the Leo bird, what is it called?
So Brian going with his standard Salamander Monk play. Brian loves Salamander Monk. We saw him play it in the last game. He's going to be able to play it again here. Salamander Monk,
way better than I thought it was when we first started playing the game. Card's very, very good.
It is a very good single die summon. And I do recommend it if you're playing Sympathy. So we're going to play a single Charm. He's going to go ahead and bring the Owl, which will trigger the Ice Trap. Yep. So
Owl gets its card every time.
Yep.
That's you just pay the Owl tax, right?
Right. That's exactly right. Yep. But it pulls the Ice Trap out. So depending on what this last card is, Brian has still got a ton of dice in his pool, and he's still not showing that last card yet. So he's just going to make the safe play on a Salamander Monk here.
Right. He has no reason to take the priority here. He knows Matt's last card is Meteor, and
the only issue with really the Salamander Monk that I see is just the fact that he can Gilder it, and then that's going to just bring the snake up another point. But I think the snake's going to get big in this game no matter what, so it's going to really come down to whether or not...
I'm interested to see what Brian's last card is.
Me too. We should be finding out.
Because he can still make the Leo bird.
Right.
What the hell is that thing called? I'm sorry, chat.
The Glowfinch.
Glowfinch.
Yes. Yep.
I'm just going to keep calling it the Leo bird.
The Leo bird. The Leo bird. So he's meditating here. Okay, so this is a transmute magic. Glowfinch doesn't require that meditation. I think he's potentially considering digging. Yeah, it is a memory theft on Brian's board. He used it right away. Tried to force Matt to discard a Meteor, and Matt chose to pay the life instead.
He took the damage, which in general is when you get memory theft, you should pay literally until you're dead.
All right, so the Gilder's going to stand in front of the monk.
Okay. Now let's see what his last card is. He's got 5 dice. This could be anything.
Yeah, I think the safe play here is to go ahead and bring out the Glowfinch. your opponent's only got snake left, they can command strike with the snake, and it's going to kill the glowfinch, but you're still going to get cards off the top of the deck that way. Oh, he's going to meditate away, so this is going to be an Essence Druid then.
Yep, this is his thing he does. He meditates the book down, plays Essence Druid, gets the book back to make the additional salamander. Just like in
just like he did in game 1.
First game they played.
Yep. We could have probably called that, I guess. But I wasn't sure with the way the dice spread was. He really had a large card pool.
Yeah, I mean this is a mill. It's like a Leo deck. It's a mill deck. You know, there was no reason to think that he was doing that same thing. But it is powerful. He gets like the additional 2 units out of it.
And Essence Druid is a nice defensive unit in front of Snake. It's not really command strikeable here. The Snake's not in range of the command strike yet. I think it's interesting because he's able to probably kill the Frostback bear still this turn if he plays aggressive, which Brian tends to not do. So, and there comes the Meteor, which we knew was going to happen. That's going to make that Snake nice and big. That does create problems for that Druid.
Right, now it's command strikeable for sure.
Correct.
Well, not this turn, but...
So I think his only choice is really to send the... because the Meteor was big, it killed both the Salamander Monk and the Monk Spirit. That's the way the Meteors work, because of the second source of damage coming in.
Right, assuming that the... you pay the at least 1 power dice.
Yep. Because he picked up almost 3 status counters from that, plus the Gilder counter makes 4 status counters, so it went from 2 to 6 really quick. That's going to put the Essence Druid in a bad spot. But we're going to be in... he's out of dice to command strike this turn. And since Matt went first, that does give Brian a little bit of wiggle room. He can nature ping the Frostback bear away. And potentially...
I think in general, Matt's going to be in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess not, actually, because since there's 2 damage on the snake, the block on the snake kills it.
Yeah, but if Brian attacks right here with just the Essence Druid, Maeoni can just guard it. So he doesn't actually get into the snake.
Right, but he's not going to attack. He wants to chump the snake. He doesn't want to take 6.
Right.
So since he's already planning on blocking the snake, the fact that the snake just dies to what's already good for Brian is... this turn's going to end up very even board state.
Yeah, Matt just Brian natural ping the Frostback bear away, and then pass back.
And then they passed out.
They passed out. So I think that's the only thing you can really do there.
Right, he can't let his snake die now. So the recover 3 on the snake refreshes it up. He's got the 6/4. But it's hard to tell. Like it still seems like the game is extremely even because he just has the Essence Druid in play too.
Yeah, I think that you're just going to see 2 dice spent on command strike to kill the Essence Druid immediately. And then you get an open board to swing for 7, unless you play another unit here. I
mean, obviously he has Salamander on board and a full hand. Like the snake's not just going to get through.
No.
And I don't think it's correct to attack with the snake that early in the turn, even if it could.
Yeah, it's probably not. It most likely is not, unless you're afraid that your opponent's got some sort of kill on board. So he gets rid of a Butterfly Monk and an Essence Druid here on a meditation. I didn't see which dice he rolled up. Did he roll the Charm dice up?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Charm dice is interesting because that would be potentially a Golden Veil Protect, so he may be bluffing.
Or a Redirect.
Yeah, I would assume, though, that your best play is still Golden Veil because Snake needs to get that unit out of the way. You're not going to probably just attack direct to the face, but you could, and Redirect would be there for you.
Yeah, I think they're essentially like the same card in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
because they're just going to stop the snake attack.
Yep. And that's all you're trying to do. Here comes Frostback Bear.
Just those easy book activations as the early actions in the round.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and get a memory theft here. Oh my goodness, look at that. 2 Meteors, 2 Nature's Wraths, and a close combat. That's
not a good hand.
No, that's not a great hand at all.
You don't need more than one of those things. Yeah, and Matt just writes there, not the best round 2 draw.
But we're out here, is what he says. We're out here. So yeah, I mean, I think that you got to try to force the close combat. That's gonna be a key component of trying to get this Essence Druid and the units out of the way, right? Because close combat and command strike would both clear the board here, and
yeah, I mean,
the snake bigger.
Memory theft, as always, just his mode of make your opponent take a damage.
Yeah,
right? Like it's never ever going to do anything else.
No,
until like they're at 1, obviously.
And in the scope of cards that can do that kind of thing, I guess when you're playing a mill deck, that's one area where
it's fine. I mean,
yeah,
it's a little worse than 1 damage to the face every turn, because it does give your opponent that option. So they get to pick what's best for them. So like in this situation, because close combat was kind of, a unique card for him there, and the other cards were all the same, like you kind of have to pay for that. But if his hand was just bad, he could just discard, right? It wouldn't.
What I sort of like about memory
bother
theft,
him.
Yeah, what I sort of like about memory theft, maybe over other sort of deal damage to a Phoenixborn like Frostbite, is that you do get the hand information. And that's not completely bad. So this
the information isn't worth nothing.
All right, so he's going to Final Cry just to do 2 damage and let the Druid go. I don't know if that means he doesn't have the Golden Veil, and like to your point, he's just got the redirect. That would be a pretty interesting set of circumstances, but we're going to see maybe a Nature's Wrath here.
I'm not sure how he thinks this turn is going to go. Close combat.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems fine. Just paying the owl tax.
Yep, that's what it did. That does open up the board.
So now Matt's hand is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So if Brian plays a real threat.
Yeah, Brian's got to have a real threat in those 4 cards. If he doesn't have a real threat in those 4 cards, then he's in a lot of trouble because the Finch and the Salamander Monk are not going to get it done into 2 Meteors in hand.
Right, but he can't play both Meteors or the Snake will die.
Right.
So,
but he only needs to play 1 here. So what you can do...
But Meteor is worse for Matt in this situation than it is for Brian.
I think
Brian's smaller on the board then.
Yeah, I think you just attack with the bear. Though, because it bypasses from the monk. Gilder comes out, pings the spirit, and then I'm sure he's going to natural ping away the...
I think he'll save it. He has the Nature's Wrath.
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't want to spend his dice that way, I don't think. Because the Nature's Wrath doesn't even kill his Gilder, right? It just kills...
Well, he's definitely on board.
Only that.
Fire Archer doesn't save him from the AoEs, but it does get...
Right, Nature's Wrath looking better here. This is what he wanted, right? He wanted to put him on Nature's Wrath 2-for-1ing him.
Sure. I still think he's ultimately looking to Meteor the board so he can Meteor his own Gilder and get a status token.
I don't think that's necessary. The snake is so big now that it doesn't matter how big the snake is, right? It just it's gonna bash him for 1,000, whether it's 1,001 or 999 makes very little difference.
Just letting him know the Fire Archer went to the Conjuration pile so we get the game state corrected. Not that it's a big deal, but just important to try to do that. So we're going to see a Raptor Herder.
Well, it's definitely very important because he has Ceremonial Dice to recur it. It could definitely change the game.
So Raptor Herder also really incentivizes the Meteor play here.
I still think Nature's Wrath is fine. Like, it depends on what he has to do with his other dice.
Gonna ping that Herder
Okay, so
away.
he pings the Herder. Interesting. So it does look like he's saving up for a Meteor. 10
attack Snake. Looking pretty threatening on that other side of the board. What is going on, Dustin? How are you tonight? Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're definitely just looking at a Meteor play. He did get rid of one Meteor, if I'm not mistaken, as part of his Meditate, but it might have been a Nature's Wrath.
Nature's Wrath is the top card of his discard pile.
Okay.
And plus, he had 2 Meteors, so...
And 2 Nature's Wraths.
Right, so we know what his last 2 cards are.
Yep.
I'll tell you one thing about Memory Theft. It makes casting easy.
It does, right?
We just get to, know their hand to talk about, but...
It does.
So we'll see what happens here. I still think it's going to be really difficult for him to get a snake hit in, with only the 2 dice left for the Meteor.
I think it's
because he still has Glowfinch in the tank.
Right. He does still have the Glowfinch.
So he'll probably take some damage from Bear, but...
Yeah, that's probably true. That probably works out in Brian's favor a little bit because Matt's on 15 cards, Brian's on 17 cards. We're still a long ways away from a mill victory here. And playing Raptor Herder, I'm not sure that this deck is really on primary plan a mill with Salamander Monks and Herders. It just looks like it has a few mill cards in it. It's sort of potentially pivoting if the board gets locked up or anything like that.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't gone for any aggressive milling, but I think that this deck, oh, that's a strange play.
See, I think this is not...
I don't know if this is good, because...
Is this turning on just a 3-white attack? Is that...
Now he can just play Meteor.
Right, yeah, I mean, you just open up the Meteor and you...
So what could his last 2 cards be that Meteor is okay here for him?
One could be a Molten Gold. If he's holding Molten Gold, he can kill the snake post-Meteor.
Yeah.
And he's showing...
It seems weird to make the guy into the Meteor you know about.
I agree in theory with that. I don't think I would have made the Glowfinch into that, but...
No, we'll see what happens.
Matt passed. So Matt must be concerned that there's something in the tank still with those last 2 cards, and since Brian knows those 2 cards, there's a double pass. Okay. So Matt lets the Meteor go.
Yeah, I really don't think it's good for him here. It's just too easy to get snake killed, and if that snake doesn't get in for an attack, this game, I think he's done.
Yeah.
Because he's put so much time and energy into it.
Yeah, you really are going to have to find some, if Matt is holding... Yeah, keeping the bear alive is not irrelevant at all, Waves, for sure. It's a threatening enough unit that... on its own against what Brian is showing in both summons books as well as what he's played so far, I think that there's a pretty significant chance that he gets another bear on board here as his first action. Although he can open up with a Frostback bear attack too if he's worried about the bear somehow getting killed. But I'm not sure how that would be. So he goes ahead and meditates to the single charmed power side. Probably indicates a...
so here's the massive growth.
Yep. And that's pretty significant here.
It represents another large chunk of damage. It just, because Brian got to untap with 2 blockers and 4 cards in hand, I think it's going to be hard for him to get through with it. I guess it dodges all the blockers that are currently in play.
Right, and any blocker that he would make right now as well, right? Like if he just makes an owl, like the bear still gets passed for 6 damage. And we know that he was playing, we saw at least a single refresh. I'd be curious if he's got more refreshes. I think you almost memory drain here, yeah. Or memory theft too, just see what's in the hand. Yep, there's the double refresh and the Golden Veil. So there's basically lethal and near lethal on board.
He's going to come swinging. It's going to depend a lot on...
Wait, I mean, I don't know what the theme song to Massive Growth Bears would be. It's... probably the Jumanji theme song, or maybe the song that was played.
The Bare Necessities.
The Bare Necessities from the Jungle Book. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend a lot on like if he has the redirect, right?
So there's the Wrath.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
What's interesting about that, though, I guess the Massive Growth saves the bear, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, that was an extremely one-sided Nature's Wrath.
That snake
very one-sided.
Snake is representing near lethal. The bear and snake now present lethal to Brian. And between...
Yeah, see, this is a situation where he is going to get a big attack through, because it's going to be really hard for him to both make a blocker that can block bear and kill the snake, or vice versa. Yeah. I mean, killing the snake is obviously easier now.
You gotta basically be able to play 2 units. So because your command strike is going to get one of them. Yep, snake is at 14. Bear is representing 6. Yeah, there's not very many answers for Leo at this stage.
It's just going to be make a dude and play redirect and take 6 on the dome, I think.
Well, that's assuming he allows the dude to stay up for the redirect play, right? Because you could command strike before you attack. So if you only make 1 unit, the snake...
Yeah, I guess command strike is just 2 dice kill anything now.
Right. Between both of these units. Doesn't matter what gets put into play. So.
Right. And he doesn't have the dice for Golden Veil plus redirect.
Right.
Oh, and he couldn't do it anyway. He can't play more than 1 reaction.
Yeah, you just have to choose to go ahead and hold.
There's gonna be a lot of deeps this turn.
Hey Pokemon, welcome. I think we're in round 3 right now.
Yep, the round counter at the tab is it's round 3.
Yep.
So he makes an owl.
And makes a finish. This is the two unit play we were talking about in order to get back into a position where
well, redirect is on now.
Right. Which is what you have to do here is try to redirect.
But I mean, even if you redirect, like you're still gonna take 6.
Matt's holding 7 cards to Brian's 14, so Matt is getting close to fatigue damage land here. But it's going to be tough, I think, for Brian to stave off this the potential for this bear to reset. Actually, up to I think at least 1 more time.
He could attack with it 3 times in current state.
Yeah, if he wants to give up the Golden Veil play.
Right. Which I don't know that we've seen anything at this juncture from Brian that like you would need to Golden Veil right here. But we don't know.
So again, Brian's holding the Molten Gold. I think he's holding the dice for Molten Gold. He's also holding the dice for Summon Sleeping Widows, which would both give him the sort of pressure he needs to put on Snake.
Not sure this is the kind of deck that would play a Widows, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to figure out exactly what this deck is ultimately about. I think it's doing kind of a couple of different things. I'm just looking at dice configurations, and because we're not turned on for a Final Cry, we are turned on for a Sympathy Pain if he's playing Sympathy Pain. Not that Sympathy Pain would matter here per se, but it is 2 more damage and represents that much closer to a victory for the Leo player. And we still have the potential for a Salamander Monk to be up. I can't check the discard piles to see if we've seen all 3 Nature's Wraths and all 3 Meteors. I mean, in round 2, Matt had 2 Meteors and 2 Nature's Wraths in his hand. He had 1 Meteor, so I think we're done with Meteor, but I think there may be a potential chance for 1 more Nature's Wrath in the game.
Right. I do think there's a Nature's Wrath left. But
I wonder if that's what he's contemplating spending here, because he's got the single nature die up and he keeps moving it. Makes me think that's a thought, but he may be just going for a Gilder here.
If he can kill both guys,
yep, here comes.
We're essentially in the same situation again.
Kills the Glowfinch. Glowfinch will get 2 cards off the top. There goes the last Nature's Wrath. So no more board sweepers. Brian's checking the discard pile to verify that same information, I'm sure. Snake gets another counter on it. Goes up to 15. Matt needs a single Hypnotize, is what he needs here. Yeah. Brian's saying 15 not yet lethal. He knows it's safe now to play that Salamander Monk because the sweepers are gone, so that gives him a lot of options now for protecting the snake attack. He's still going to take his lumps from the bears here.
Yeah, the bear's going to get him, I think.
Yeah, I think he very well may lose to the bear here, but he's meditated away.
So now we're showing Fester.
We are showing a Fester.
Or he just meditated a Blood Change, which is a card that could be in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And both those cards are very good here.
Yeah, he's threatening Fester here. Nature Ping, the Salamander. Yeah. And Snake gets another counter. Relatively ineffective. Yeah, Final Cry is what I was thinking we were going to, for sure, Pokemon. He had already played a Final Cry earlier. I don't think he's ready to give up the double ceremonial. Yep, there is it. He's going to go ahead and Final Cry here. Do 2 more damage to Matt.
So this isn't really like a mill deck. It's more just like a burn deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a stall burn, right? Like and that's why Memory Theft is essentially doing the same thing. It's just giving you hand information and then doing a point of damage, so it sort of functions in this deck very similar to like how you would use a Frostbite, but Frostbite gives you a little more flexibility in terms of targeting units. Like, not that makes a ton of difference in this particular game right now. So I think Memory Theft is just as good as Frostbite in that sequence. And if your opponent decides to discard a card, you're still sort of on a plan that lets you go long if you want to go long.
Right, it's good in the burn deck. Like you said, it both like burns them, and then if they discard to it, it like burns them because they're out of cards, which Leo naturally does to the Glowfinch. So Brian, obviously Matt's down to 5 cards now.
Yeah, and Brian natural or ceremonial power took the point of life to bring back the herder. That does turn on all of the units. Although with Matt's particular board right now, I'm not sure that that's going to change anything. And he's foregoing. I guess he's using the natural ping, but I don't know Oh no, he spent that for he left the sympathy up and spent that for the Raptor Herder instead. So if there is a Molten Gold in hand, he's given it up for this round. Currently, as we're sitting, Brian's down to 5, or Matt's down to 5 cards. If Matt spends no more cards from hands, he'll be down to 3 cards.
Right. I mean, that if he has a Molten Gold, it's going to be just as good next turn as it is this turn, essentially.
Right. Absolutely.
Unless he really thinks the snake is a problem, though we saw the Golden Veil in Matt's hand, so it definitely has to go to face.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt's down to a kind of a peculiar situation. I think at this point he's got to just send his bears in, and refresh the bears. I'm not sure what else he could really get out of. And he can do it one at a time just to stall Brian out a little bit longer.
Now he's only got 1 refresh up.
Right, that's what I mean. So, but you've got a massive growth bears. You definitely want to try to refresh the massive growth bears. So he's going to try to attack. I just think that if you're Leo, you just take it.
Well, it looks like he's attacking the owl.
But the owl's sort of a win con at this point, right? Like even if you leave...
Right, the owl is a big threat here because he is like on the mill plan, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So the owl, I mean, could feasibly kill him.
Because the double bear attack would be 12. This bear makes 14, so he's still alive with 2 health remaining. He does sympathy pain. That's a big sympathy pain here. Really big sympathy pain.
Yep, I mean, it seems like the Leo deck has a lot of inevitability here.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's through actual burn spells in his hand or just activating Memory Theft some more and Owl some more.
See, I thought we might see the Orchid Dove in this iteration, just for the additional mill. So gets rid of a refresh. That makes sense. He can only play 1 this turn anyways. So now Matt's going to be drawing 3 cards out of his deck. So Glowfinch coming online next round guarantees the deck to get empty.
Right. I mean, what it comes down to here is just, is he going to get through with his guys? Because the Leo deck is going to finish out his little piddly pile here of 5 cards somehow. So he's got this turn and maybe next turn to get through with his men and hope that it's good enough.
So there's a cheeky Gilder into the Raptor Herder through the Divine Power. Just making the snake bigger, but the snake is lethal now. It doesn't matter. Brian's telling Matt, good play. Yeah, it's a cheeky play for sure to use the Divine Power that way.
Divine Power is good.
That's very good.
Matt says this is intense. I agree. This is a very tense situation, but because we know his hand, it feels like Brian is in a lot of control here.
Yeah, what was the last card? Because we know he's got a refresh left. What was the other card? Do you remember? I did not write them down.
Golden Veil, right?
Oh, Golden Veil. That's right. Yep. So I think this is an interesting play because this opens up the snake, which really does telegraph the redirect, I guess. If you're holding redirect here, you can take...
I mean, at this point, if you think you're playing against Matt in a tournament where you get to pick your deck, you should just put a redirect in it, because I've never seen Matt play a game that doesn't have bears and massive growth in it. And it's just so good. It's just...
So here comes the Frostback Bear for 6 damage. Oh, he went at the Herder? Guess he wanted to clear the defenders for the snake.
He still has the refresh. He's putting pressure on Brian to continue to make blockers.
which I don't think Brian's got anything. I mean, he could have another Raptor Herder, I guess, potentially with that last nature die. I'm not sure what else would have a single nature cost that's on an ally. And you got to have you have to have the charm die for the redirect to survive here. Yeah, because now the snake can attack.
Well, right. So here's the thing: is that if he has the snake attacks, he has redirect. The snake doesn't get through.
Right, but he has refresh.
He has refresh, so the snake can attack again.
Yep, absolutely. Which is why I think it was potentially. I mean, I know the spirit can't block.
Yeah, he might be dead off that refresh.
I think that refresh is going to be the game winner here, folks. I think that's what we're looking at. Unless one of these cards in Brian's hand is a unit, then he can tank 2 snake hits. But I'm assuming that in order to do that, he'd have to have a single unit.
Because he's been in the tank this long, I assume that because if he had a unit, just windmill slam it into play, right? There's just no thinking about it.
Right. So there's the redirect. We knew that was coming. I think this is, yeah. There's definitely a refresh. So, and that will be GG. Yep. So the snake is going to get it done. That was really a great set of finals. Matt was able to pull it out in the end. Brian saying memory drain was probably a mistake.
Yeah, I think that card is
well, memory drain is the owl's ability, is what he's talking about. He's saying that last memory drain on the owl.
Oh, sorry, I thought he was talking about memory theft.
Yeah, I think obviously what hurt more than anything, because the Matt would have not taken any fatigue damage, so that last anguish play here, he didn't have the dice to play it anyways. Yeah, he just needed to have a Raptor there. So, yeah, it's
that was really interesting. I'm not sold on the memory theft. It did what? 2 damage? 3 damage?
Yeah, I think it ended up doing, because we played 3 rounds, right? So this was 3rd round, so it did 3 damage. And obviously, very much a congratulations to Matt for a well-played tournament throughout. I think Matt took his first loss of the whole tournament, if I'm not mistaken, against Brian in game 1 of the finals.
Yeah, last week.
And so, Brian fighting his way out of the consolation bracket and getting a second chance and then taking it to game 2 of the finals. Obviously, that's a ton of credit to Brian for that. Very well played. Brian's indicating in chat that he had 3 molten gold somewhere. That Matt said that's the ultimate reason why he decided not to Meteor was because of the risk of molten gold. So that's those were all real considerations throughout the course of the game here. So, it
was a really interesting game. You just needed to block that, need to make blockers. So yeah, the memory theft might have been a misplay. It's hard to know exactly, but obviously he ended up 1 blocker short. So
yeah, the last card in hand being Anguish could have been particularly punishing if the board allowed for it and the dice were there. Yeah, the snake play is cool. I think it's fun to watch a snake get big and sort of the inevitability of it. I think that you've got to be doing things to snake that force your opponent to use their golden veils to protect it. And
I really thought he was just going to play Fester earlier this round, and the game was going to end.
Well, he still had the golden veil on the Fester, so that's a big part of that sequence. Right.
If that Anguish was a Fester, Brian would have won because he would have Golden Veiled it or whatever and not had the dice to refresh.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was really interesting to watch.
It was a cool match. We talked to Nick last week. He just wishes that Molten Gold wasn't a card, or not Molten Gold. Massive Growth wasn't a card.
Yep. It just shows that the Massive Growth is just it gave Matt so much tempo, and it makes it so hard to deal with the unit that gets Massive Growth, right? So,
right, assuming you don't have those like real removal spells in your pile.
Correct. Yeah.
Like it's just a card that's either on or off, and
I think that would be one.
When it's on, it's powerful.
I think that's one area where, again, as we talk about deck builds, we haven't seen a lot of that in the both finals matches. We didn't see any of the actual removal spells in play, right? Herald kind of, when you talk about the mark from Brian's deck, where in game one he was running Herald and using mark, and that's sort of a
right. That's as close as anything that we saw.
Right. Yeah, I think Maeoni is proving to be a force in Reborn. When you look at the current results of the Shuffle Bus tournament, 4 rounds in, we're nearly done with round 4. Carl is, sitting atop the leaderboard. He did just suffer his first loss to Matt with Odette, but yeah, I mean, you look at Maeoni and Odette, and I think there are some very powerful Phoenixborns because Maeoni's Command Strike is just a legitimate threat that forces opponents to have to be able to play multiple units, and if you can't play multiple units, then it's just how much dice are you spending to trade? They're 2 dice for Command Strike, and that can be a problem for sure. And that's why I think bad. Well, I mean, it can't be too hard on her. I mean, she did just win one of the largest tournaments in Ash's history with the AIL Season 4, and
right, and not a single deck list to be found had a Fester in it. Like,
well, I agree. I think
so you're right. If the meta is no removal spell, she's great.
That's right.
If the meta has removal spells, I don't think she's very good.
And that's where I get back to, at this point, I basically windmill slam some sort of hard removal spell in almost every deck that I play. And in some, like my tournament deck I'm playing right now, I have multiples when you look at Two Shadows and Odette's ability and Sword of Virtue. So it's cool, Cam. Like I think Maeoni is a great Phoenixborn. I mean, she has a large health pool. Her ability is not irrelevant. It is expensive. But yeah.
Her ability's good. It's fine.
Hey, thanks, Chaos. Appreciate it, man. You have a good night as well.
And I don't want to take anything away from Matt. He played that last turn masterfully, just to like navigate to where he could actually get the snake through.
Right.
He played to his outs, and his outs was like Brian was, had X number of blockers, which is exactly how many he had, and congratulations, like that's great play.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that both players played the game at an extremely high level, and obviously that Divine Die can be a real thorn in your side sometimes when you're on the opposite side of Divine Dice. And the Divine Gilder to kill the Raptor Herder was just very, very good. So
yeah, I mean, again, that was just one more blocker that he removed. He's just like, okay, he's got X number of blockers, and I need him to have X number of blockers -1, and he figured it out.
Yep.
Big math problem.
Yep. All right, well, that's going to wrap up AIL coverage for Season 4. Obviously, congrats to Carl and team for that. And for those of you that didn't hear the news today, Carl has graciously agreed to join us on the Shuffle Bus for content. So you're going to find more content coming out from both Neil and I, as well as Carl now as we move forward on Ashes. We will continue to work towards, providing the best coverage possible for all competitive Ashes that we can. And we are shifting our streaming nights. In case you all had missed it, we are now streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays instead of Wednesdays and Thursdays. So look for us to be back online tomorrow night with our standard stream night. We'll be playing. Neil and I have the Bus Brawl tomorrow night on stream for the Shuffle Bus tournament, for the battle for the middle ground, if you will, as both Neil and I are 1 and 2 in the tournament this time around. And
if you want to watch a really long, grindy game of Ashes, come to watch tomorrow, because I think it's going to be a long one.
I'm guessing we're probably going to get into sudden death rules tomorrow. Yes, I think that's a real possibility. So who knows how that'll work out? But again, it'll be one of those things that I'm looking forward to our match, Neil. We play so much Ashes together that I don't know if you'll make any changes to your first 5. And vice versa. I'm trying to debate whether I'm going to make any changes to the first 5 since you know my deck so well. But end of the day, like, that's just how it works. So we're just going to bus brawl it up on stream tomorrow night to get the stream started at 6:30 Central. And then after that, we'll play some casual Ashes and talk about the tournament progression, because I think we'll be very close to ready to advance to round 5 on the tournament progression, which is the last round of Swiss. So we're nearing the end of the Swiss rounds, and we'll make the top 8 calls here soon, and then we'll start talking about top 8s and the coverage for the top 8s once we know what players are going to be there for sure. So yeah, lots going on right now. If you haven't been watching YouTube, I've been catching up on my backlog. So all of the Jericho previews are, not all of them, most of the Jericho previews are up. The last 2 Jericho previews will be up this week, as well as the developer interview from stream last Thursday with Nick will be up on our YouTube channel. So if you miss any of that content and you want to check it out, YouTube is going to be your home for that stuff. So this game will also be up on YouTube as quickly as possible so that it's there for everybody to watch that missed the live stream tonight. And we'll be we got Game 3 coverage still to bring up from yours and my games, Neil. So lots going on right now. It's been a busy Ashes season. Obviously, got notification today that my Reborn kit shipped, so I'm excited to get the Reborn cards. Maybe we'll do a little live box opening on stream, and we'll go from there. So that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else. I appreciate everybody that spent some time with us tonight. Again, thank you so much for everybody that follows us. Thank you so much for everybody that subs to us. That means the absolute world to us, and you have no idea how important that is for us, just to know that we're doing something that you guys are enjoying. So we will see you all tomorrow night live on stream.